Alright, so this is the 24.8 inch tri-mode Makvision that I mentioned in the previous video that I worked on the 29 inch Makvision and got that up and running. This is the 24.8 inch I mentioned that had the collapse problem. Over here is the one that I repaired in the previous Makvision video, and I got in between that time and now I've got it fully capped and reflowed and it's working great. So we've got this one all fixed up and repaired. But now we're going to focus on this 24.8 inch one, and this, like I say, when I first got this, it had this. The problem I'm about to show you is what it had when I first got it, and it was gifted to me. And if somebody had a multicade where this developed this problem, they just put an LCD in it and said, "Hey, I got this monitor. It's doing this. If you want it, you can have it." So I said, "Sure." So I got it, capped it, reflowed it, and it didn't make any difference. So I'm going to try and figure out what the problem is in this video. And we're going to be using this one as a comparator for various parts and pieces and stuff. So here's what it's doing. It's got a full picture, but it's compressed. And I cannot increase the width without it tearing. It folds over on the bottom and tears across the top. You can see there's a tear right there, and it's got some of the raster in there as well. But it has a full picture. I mean, it's there. This is the entire image, but it's compressed down, and if I try and increase the vertical size, here's what it does. I gotta use the bench here. So there you go. It just tears. Let me turn up the brightness so you can see a bit more of the raster. There we go. Okay, so now if I increase the vertical size, it just tears across the top and folds over on itself on the bottom. So there's the fold over. And let me increase it completely. Alright, so that's vertical size maxed out. And you can see it's just torn across the top and folds over on itself on the bottom. But I mean, the full image is there, I can't increase it. So there's a problem on the vertical size circuit. So we got to try and figure out what's going on with that. I mean, so I don't think it's a capacitor problem, because like I say, this existed before and after I did the cap kit. We'll increase the vertical size back down until, so that's with the vertical size all the way down. But I need to turn the brightness back down to roughly there. So yeah, I mean, it has a really good picture and image. It's crystal clear, looks fantastic, but like I say, it's got, I don't know, 5 inches of black on top and bottom, and I can't increase it. The vertical size pot doesn't actually increase. It doesn't increase this. It causes the lines and it folds over on itself on the bottom. So anyway, yeah, it does work and operate, but I got the vertical size problem. So we need to deduce, trace the circuit out for the vertical size and see if we can figure out what component is faulty. So let's see if we can figure that out. Okay, did a little bit of quick troubleshooting. I got the problem chassis over here running. Before we show the image of what I have now, I have replaced the vertical IC. The vertical IC is TDA1675 alpha, and how I came across changing this out was, if you follow I started with the vertical size pot, and I traced the wires through the harness, and it goes to the pink and white wires right here. These pink and white wires that go to that 2-pin connector, well, those 2 wires go through a couple of resistors here and go straight to the vertical IC. So I installed a brand new vertical IC. I actually had a couple, I got a little thing here labeled ICs, and I actually have another one right in there that's used, but I had a brand new one, and I put it in, and we have a better image. At least now I can fill the screen, but we have some tearing here. Now I think this is probably a bad cap in the area. You can see how it's got the scan lines are stretched there. From here down is perfect. So now we have a full image, but we have these thick scan lines here, and I'm not sure what to think about that. I may change out the caps in that area because something damaged the IC. Something damaged the IC, and again, it resides right here. So I'm thinking I may change out all the caps. I may change out all these caps in this area right here all these electrolytics, and then go through and test all of the resistors. There's a diode, so I'm going to go through and test all the components and resistors and things that are in the circuit from these two wires to the vertical IC. And then I'm going to go through, if none of that checks bad or that all pans out, I'm going to change out these caps. Even though I've already changed them, I'm going to take them out, inspect the area, maybe change them again because maybe there's something wrong. Maybe I put the wrong rating in there. I don't know. I'm going to go through and redo some of that work and see what I can come up with and kind of go from there. But I changed out the vertical IC, so this one is definitely bad, and it's failed. I put a new one in, and now we have a full image except for this problem. So I'm going to continue on and do what I just mentioned and see if that yields any results. Okay, I haven't done any work yet, but something interesting is happening. I thought, well, I wonder if the resolution changing will affect this. So you can see it's still here on the standard res, but if I flip it over to medium, turn it off, and back on, they're not there anymore. They are up here, just barely. If we change the screen, so you can barely see them right there. But when you put it medium res, they go away. Pretty much for all intents and purposes, they're gone. Let's see if I can get you can see them. Oh, this is inverted colors. Hang on, I got this on inverted. There we go. You can kind of see them there. And if we stretch the vertical size a bit more, there you can see where they start to tear. But if I bring the size down a bit, they go away almost completely with about an inch on the bottom and top. So we're making progress by changing the vertical IC out. We're actually making the problem lessening the problem. But if I switch back over to standard now, yeah, see, they're still there on the standard. But I go back to medium, and they're gone completely. But I have an inch or so, 3/4 inch or so on top and bottom. But yeah, if I stretch the vertical size, here we go. It's stretching up, and then they start to appear, but not until you get to the top. But even that would be livable if you're actually playing a real PC, or real PCB, I meant to say. Horizontal size, yeah. Well, I think I'm still going to go through the board and look for maybe bad caps or bad resistors. I'm half tempted to try a VGA signal. Let me turn this off. And I'm going to have to cut away and hook up a VGA source. Hang on a second. All right, so I've got a 16-to-1 running here, and it's about to change over to booting here. I just want to see what we get with VGA. Is it even less with VGA? Any day now. There we go. Oh, no. VGA is on par with... I wonder why medium res is so much better. Oh, we need to... This is all wonky here. There we go. Wow, okay. Yeah, it's still stretched here. If we go back to the screen, you can see how we have linearity. Wait a minute. Is it a linearity adjustment issue? Let's adjust our linearity pot. No, that's a subcontrast, I'm sorry. Which one of these buggers was vertical linearity? I think it's this one that I can't see. There we go. Nope, not linearity. Linearity doesn't do it. So, okay, this seems to me like there's a capacitor problem in conjunction with the faulty vertical IC. So let me do some poking around and see if I can figure out what's going on. Alright, so I changed out all the caps in that vertical section that's near the vertical IC, and it's fantastic. However, this is medium res. You can see not a hint of the lines. I did, however, discover that if I adjust the B+ that's dedicated for the medium res 25, watch what happens here. If I adjust it down a bit, or I guess up, there you go, there's the lines. Turn the B+ back down, the lines go away. So on medium resolution, we have a full perfect square image, and it's beautiful. Those lines aren't even close to being there. It's factory fresh condition. But if I hook a standard res board back up, let's turn this off, disconnect that, see if we can maneuver ourselves into hooking up MK1 here. It's never easy. Got it. Okay, now let's do MK1. Turns right on. Now MK1 still has the lines. However, if I adjust the B plus for the 15 kilohertz, you can see how the lines change. Now they're only here and they're not up here anymore. So the B plus is affecting the lines. So I don't think it's a vertical deflection problem anymore. Oh, let's medium res. I'm gonna put that back, this one here. So right here there's 3 pots. There's a pot for VGA, medium res, and CGA. So we have to adjust the 15 kilohertz one. You can see the lines are only right there. They're not there anymore. If I turn it right there, it appears to be fixed. But if I acknowledge they're still there. They just move from up here to down there. So I still think we have a capacitor issue, not a vertical deflection problem. If I turn the B plus again, it'll return back to the top here. There you go, see? So I don't want to go too far down, but yeah, let me play around with it a bit more. I'm half tempted, easy for me to say. I'm half tempted to just redo all the caps because I think that this is a capacitor problem in the high voltage section. That's all I can imagine why it would explain how medium res, might use different caps. I haven't traced out the circuitry, but it's possible that we have a cap that's causing this somewhere. With the fact that this was bad before the cap kit and after the cap kit, I don't know if this caused any damage back down the line to a capacitor. So I can't say. I hate just throwing parts at it. Anybody can just change caps out. I'd like to find a smoking gun. But if I do all the caps, at least I can rule that out as the bad IC causing a cap failure or something. We can rule that out. But this is just this changes with the B plus. So I don't know if it's a cap problem or not. So if I turn this off and disconnect this one more time and hook the medium res board back up, got it. Turn it back on. And no lines whatsoever. None at all. So this leads me to believe that it's not a capacitor problem. So you would think that it would affect it on the medium res. What about the VGA though? If we simply, because we know VGA was acting just like the CGA. We turn that off and we grab our 16.1 and it is set for VGA. You can see dip switch number 2 is off, which is default VGA. And we plug this in. Got it. Okay. And we simply take our VGA cable and plug it onto our 16.1 board. There we go. Let's see what this is doing. Now it's going to take 60 seconds here to scroll through. Actually, we can turn up the brightness and see if those lines are there. Yep, there they are. So it's odd. It's affecting VGA and CGA, but not medium res. Why would that be? Let's adjust the B plus for VGA. Adjusting B plus for VGA doesn't affect it at all. I'm turning it left and right, it does nothing. So, I'm back to a capacitor issue. So, there's obviously some capacitor that the VGA and the CGA run through that the medium res doesn't. That's why this is the amateur channel. I'm not, I could go through and research this, but it's more fun trying to figure it out on your own. So I guess what I'll just do a whole new cap kit, barring the ones I've already changed, and see if that makes any difference. So let's do that, come back and see what happens. Well, I changed all the caps out, and as expected, it didn't really make a difference. I realized I forgot to mark one round right there. Okay. So, I was torn between having it be a cap problem and having it not be a cap problem, but I went ahead and changed all the caps anyway because I wasn't sure if this shorting out or not, it didn't short, but this being bad could have caused another cap to go bad after I had already capped it. I didn't know. So I just changed them all again. It made no difference. So I got the schematic out online, and I started at the vertical size pin at the IC. And going across the vertical IC pin, what was it here? R104. R104 is, oops, sorry about that. R104 is one of these tiny resistors in here, and it comes right off the vertical size pin. And it's supposed to be 120K or so. So let's measure it. R104 is this guy here, going right into the vertical size pin. And it's 118K. It's supposed to be 120, right on the money. 118.6, close enough. So then it goes through this white wire to the vertical size pot, and then from the vertical size pot back to this pink wire, and then it runs through R90. Now R90 is right next to that vertical size connector. R90 is right there. And that, let me look over here at the computer, that is supposed to be 560K. And if we look at that, when we measure R90, we get, it's got glue all over the lead here. I gotta get this glue off here. I read it earlier, and hang on, it's got glue all over it. Come on. Hang on, let me get this. It's got this gnarly glue on it that is supposed to keep this connector from coming off. Let's see if that helps. Well, now I get no reading at all. I don't know if it's because of the glue, but when I was getting the reading, it was reading 1.9 megohm. And it's quite possible that now I was reading residual resistance, but when I read it now, it reads completely open. And the leads are good, as you can see. So let's flip it over and check the back. That connector, that is directly outboard of those two pins that go this way. So that is, there's our two pins left and right, and that resistor is directly outboard, which is right. These 2 points right here, right here. Yeah, the 1.1 meg, 1.1 megohm. And it's supposed to be 560K. Now, in comparison, if we get the working board here and we do the exact same thing, if we're even able to, yes, here are the two pins, and R90 is right here. It's labeled on this board. We get 560K. So I think we have a bad R90. So let's get R90 out of circuit. And everything is connected on both of these chassis. So it's not an issue of something not being hooked up that's affecting the reading. If it's supposed to read 560K, and it does on the good one, and this one reads 1.1 megohm, and everything's hooked up on both of them, it's got to be bad or something is influencing it. So I wonder if we disconnect this though, just to make sure. Let's disconnect the vertical size connector and let's read it again. Okay, here are the two pins. Here is our 90 is this one. Yeah, see, there we go, 1.9 megohm. That's what I was reading before, 1.9 megohm. So we definitely have a bad R90 or something that's influencing it. So I'm going to take this working one set it aside. And let's grab some desoldering braid. And let's yank that R90 out of there. Let me turn my fan on. And right here. Now, trying to find a 560K resistor is going to be the I desoldered the wrong one. Hang on. I desoldered R91, not R90. Get back in there, you rascal. Oops. We'll solder that back in real quick. Bear with me, bear with me. A man can make a mistake, okay? I lost it. There it is. Okay. I might have been reading R90. R91. I keep dropping my solder. This is the amateur channel for sure. It always gets caught on everything when it unravels. Not professional, not professional. Well, sorry. Okay, let's read that. What does that one read that we just took out? I'm just curious if that's the 1.9 megohm. Okay, here's the connector. If we go to here, it's 39K. All right, so that's not the issue. So this is R90 here. Yeah, 1.9 megohm. So I was reading it correctly. I just happened to accidentally desolder the wrong one. Okay. It's always a fight trying to get these wires untangled, whether it's the soldering iron or the solder wire or the meter wires. Okay, let's do it right this time properly. This one here. Okay. R90, come to Papa. Here we go. There it is. I had glue all over it. I couldn't get it out of there. They used this clear glue to glue all the connectors down. Okay, now with R90 removed, let's see if it reads 560K out of circuit. If it does, we're in trouble. Out of circuit, it reads 2 megohm. Well, that could be our problem. Let's see now if we can find a 560K ohm resistor to put back in there. Okay, I went downstairs and dug through all of my spare parts chassis that I don't have. Right over here off camera, I have a closet full of old parts chassis. And I went down into my closet in a spare bedroom down there where I store all my extra monitors, where I had a bunch of stuff from years ago. And on one of the shelves, I found an old defunct Makvision that has the flyback robbed and all kinds of stuff. But this one just happens to have the R90 that we need. And again, it's right here next to the vertical size connector. Right there, R90. Right there. So now let's measure this one and see if it reads 560K. If it does, we'll snag it, and hopefully that fixes our problem. So this is a twofold issue. We had a bad vertical IC and a bad R90. Well, I'm assuming the R90 is the cause, but this R90 reads 310K, but it's probably reading through the vertical size pot, so let's disconnect the connector and see what it reads now. There you go. 560K, close enough. Hot doggy. Okay. Let's get it out of there and transplant it over and give this another try. And let's test that other one that I took out just to make sure that it's in place correctly. All right, here, so I took out this one. It was what, 36K or so? Yeah, okay. So 37K, I think it was. All right, so let's get this puppy out of here, and it should be this one. So, you know, in hindsight, being 2020 that it is, I probably could have looked at the schematic a long time ago and found this without having to go through the headache of recapping the board, but I had nothing else to do, live and learn, and at least I know that, you know, peace of mind that the caps weren't the issue or anything like that, so not a big deal. I took all the old caps I took off of here and put them in the bag that these came in, so I still have a cap kit, but all right, so now we have our little tiny resistor removed. And let's measure it out of circuit. Oh, wrong way. Strong if I can, but I am only a man, so I take her to the can, it's the wrong way. 560K, almost to the nose. On the nose, 558. And again, here's the bad one. 2 mega ohm. No doubt about it. So we'll set that up here with our bad vertical IC, and part of me wonders if this vertical IC is actually okay, and the reason that it was failing like that was because of this resistor. I don't know, but I had a brand new one and put it in there anyway, and obviously this did have something to do with it because we got full deflection after changing this out. Well, I guess we had full deflection, but it was scrunched down. So I'm still confident in saying that the vertical IC was bad. So let's get this puppy in here, and should fall right in, hopefully. I got this glue in the way. I got to get out of the hole. Yeah, it's got this stupid glue in the hole. Glue in the hole. There we go. Still can't see through it. I'm just using the edge of my tweezers here or the end of the tweezers to poke through. Let's see if that works. Gotta straighten this leg out though. No, I can't get this. There's too much glue in that hole. Come on. I don't want to damage the trace. I'm about to just solder the darn thing on the back side of the board. Yeah, back side of the board it is. Don't ever let me catch you guys doing this. I don't want to hear reports of you guys doing this. This is a do as I say, not as I do channel, all right? Okay, and now it's still warm, and we're going to measure it. In circuit, we had 2 megohm before, now we have 560K and falling. Outstanding. All right, well, let's see if that's a contributing factor. We'll plug our connector back in. Don't want to forget to hook that back up. That would be detrimental. Okay, let's put this cradle back on. Get it on a tube and try it out. Okay, my friends, place your bets. Will that fix it? Will that improve our situation? Will it fix it outright? I don't know. Hopefully it does. I got MK1 hooked up, so we are in standard resolution just to see. Let's find out. 1, 2, 3. Negative. What? Oh, man. Oh. How can you find so many things wrong and not have any of them fix the problem? Oh, that's so disheartening. What if I decrease the vertical size? Yeah. Oh, darn it. Well, I'll keep digging, going. Maybe there's more bad components along the circuit. You know, maybe after that resistor, it continues on and goes in through a couple of diodes and ends up at that IC7 back here, that little IC right there. It ends up there. I can possibly steal the one from this chassis and put it on here. Maybe the IC7's the problem, but oh, dang it. I was absolutely confident that was the problem. How can you find an open resistor for all intents and purposes and not have it make any difference at all? How can that be? Well, okay, back to the drawing board. I'm going to dig back through the schematics, see if I can find anything else. Okay, boys and girls, I've made another discovery. So R90 was the one that we found that was 2 megohm, that was supposed to be 570K. We changed that out, it made no difference. Now, why would that be? But if we keep looking at the schematic further down, it calls out R91. Now, R91 is that resistor that I removed initially by accident. Well, as fate would have it, that one is also bad because it's supposed to be, per the schematic, 27K ohm. So if we read the one that this one it just took out of the chassis. If we read it, if you recall, it was like 37K or something. Out of circuit, it's 39K, it's 40K. Well, it's supposed to be 27. Now, this one here is one I took out of the donor chassis. And then also I read R91 on the working Makvision, it read 27K. This one came out of the donor chassis that I pulled R90 out of, and if we read it, it reads 27K. So this one's reading 13K higher than it's supposed to be. That definitely could affect the system. It's coming right off the vertical size circuit. It's directly connected to the vertical size connector here with the pink and the white wires. It's directly connected to it. As a matter of fact, it's connected right here. Here's our R90, and then R91 comes directly off of the wire of this 2-pin connector for our vertical size, this one right here, right there. It's connected to the pink wire, right off the pink wire. So with that reading 13K out of tolerance, that very well could be part of our problem as well. So now we need to put a new R91 in there. So now we have a bad vertical IC, we have a bad R90, and we have a bad R91. So this is our bad one, 39K. So let's take that and put that aside with our other bad parts. Here's our 27K one. There we go, 27K. So let's get this puppy in there. I'm not gonna make you watch me struggle with this one too, but I'll put this one on the top because there's no glue in the hole to deal with, and then we'll test it one more time and see if it works now. All right, so R91 has been replaced. It checks the correct 27K in circuit now as opposed to the 40K or whatever the other one read. So fingers crossed it works this time. If not, I'll have to keep going again, but let's find out here. 1, 2, 3. Oh. I always forget something. I forgot to plug in the board here. Come on. There we go. Okay, MK1 plugged in. Sorry you couldn't see it, but There you go. All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Please, a boy can dream, can't he? Please. No. Oh. Now you know why nobody offers services on these Makvisions. They're just so notoriously difficult to try and troubleshoot. Nope. Vertical position. And vertical size. No change. Nope. Not even a little bit. Well, that's 3 items now that are confirmed bad. That one definitely made a difference, but the 2 resistors, how can you have 2 resistors so far out of tolerance and have it make no change to the discrepancy? I'm mystified. But let's keep going. Maybe I'll find something else. Well, fast forwarding here a bit, it's actually the next day. I got pretty frustrated with this, not being able to figure it out, and just put it aside and went to bed and came back the next day here, because it's always good to kind of, if you're getting frustrated with something, put it away, take some time away from it, come back later with a fresh set of eyes, and you'll go through and you'll probably find something new or the problem, or always looking at something with a fresh set of eyes. A problem with a fresh set of eyes can always usually, well, I don't say always usually, that's kind of contradictory, but can usually help you find things you may have overlooked or gone back and missed the first time around. So that's what I did. I put it away, got frustrated, came back, I got a good night's sleep, came back and looked at it this morning, and I found a couple of more problems. Now, I don't know if it's going to solve the solution or become the solution or solve the issue, but at least we're heading down the right path again. So if we put our meter back on ohms here, so looking at the schematic, R112 is right in circuit with the vertical as well, and that is down here in this location. R112 is right here, and R110 is this resistor right off of the vertical pins, the two header pins for the vertical winding of the yoke. One pin goes to this leg and one pin goes to this leg. So looking at the schematic, R112 and R110 are part of this circuit as well. And if we, well, let's just measure this one. So I measured R112 and it was out of tolerance. It's supposed to be 270K ohms. So if we measure the one I took out right here, it's kind of hard to see, but if we measure the one I took out, it reads, come on, it reads 500K, 571K, and it's supposed to be 270K. So we set that aside, and that one's out of tolerance. I stole a replacement from that donor chassis, this one here that I showed before, and if we measure the one I took out of that one, now it's in circuit, so it won't read exactly 270, but if we read it in circuit, it's now closer to the 270. So I measured it out of circuit, it was right at 269.2 or something. So in circuit it reads 217, but that is a far cry from the 560 or whatever the other one was. So now we're reading correctly for R112. And if we read R110, where did my R110 go? Oh, it's right here. So R110 is supposed to be 270 ohms. Not to be confused with R112, is supposed to be 270K. R110 is supposed to be 270. So if we read the one that I took out of this chassis, it reads, come on, 1K. It reads 1K. It's supposed to be 270. If we read the one that I put in and stole from the donor chassis, we get 270, 266.4. So we had another resistor. So all told, we had 4 resistors out of tolerance. R90, R91, R110, R112. 4 resistors way out of spec. One of them was way out of spec. R90 was 2 mega ohm instead of What was it supposed to be? I forget. The one that I installed upside down. Don't yell at me. It was supposed to be, I forget. But anyway, read 310 now. It was 2 megohms. So we had 4 resistors, one of them way out of tolerance, almost open, and the other 3 were out of tolerance. So we had 4 bad resistors and the bad vertical IC that was keeping the image from being tall. Now, I don't know if the vertical IC is actually bad, because with those other resistors being so far out of whack, it may be fine, but we know that before I changed any of those resistors, we had the shrunken image. It had full deflection, but it was shrunk. After changing the IC, it went to full screen, but we had those lines. So, yeah, 4 bad resistors now. So after finding those two, R112 and R110 being out of tolerance, changing those out, now let's hook it up and see if we're any better or worse, or where we're at with this project now. Okay, well, now that we've changed out R112 and R110, along with R90 and R91 and the vertical IC, let's see if our situation has improved at all. You know, it should, with that resistor being so far out of tolerance right across the vertical yoke pins. You'd think it'd make some difference, but let's find out. Fingers crossed here. 1, 2, 3. This thing's always nerve-wracking when you turn them on. Well, would you look at that? I can't believe it. That was it. The final straw was R110. Look at that. No more tearing. Fantastic. I need to go through. Contrast is a bit too high. I need to go through and check the other resolutions, but I have no doubt that they're fine. Outstanding. That was it. What do we have? R110, R112, R90, R91, and a bad vertical IC. Can you believe it? I don't understand what could have caused all that trouble, but that is awesome. Let's look at the full screen here. Oh, fantastic. Feels good to sort one of these out finally. These things are just so notoriously difficult to work on. I think there's only a couple of people I know that even says, okay, I'll touch them. And even then, it's few and far between. I am not going to offer services on these if you have one, because this tube is dedicated for, or designated for use in a special project. So I won't have access to the tube. It's going to go in a machine that's going to be on location at the arcade. So I won't be able to offer services on these. Even if I did have a tube, I don't think I want to work on these. They're just so tough. As you can see, this was quite the head scratcher, but all right, so fantastic. It's just glorious. So that was it. You know, I'm tempted to plug in the medium res cruising board just to see. But yeah, so if we go over our issues here, we had a bad vertical IC that was causing not a full deflection. Then we had a bad R90 that was out of tolerance, and then a bad R91 that was out of tolerance, and a bad R112 that was out of tolerance, and a bad R110 that was out of tolerance. So 5 components. After all changing all that out, we have a perfect, beautiful picture. Brightness is a bit too high, but that's okay. We can turn that down slightly right there. Yeah, awesome. Full square perfect picture. We can go into the menu here if I'm able to. Stay there. It won't stay there, you rat bastard. Stay in there. This is my service switch. Okay. Now let's go down to diagnostic tests here. Monitor patterns, crosshatch, and we're perfectly squared. Oh, we're a bit too wide actually. Let's decrease our width. There we go. Perfect. Actually, we need to come down on the vertical position, but that's okay. We've got the 4 green squares. Perfect square image. Thumbs up. All right. Escape out of here. And, okay. I'm just so happy that this is finally resolved, because I had a special plan for this to be used in a machine. So it's a custom project, and you'll see when I get it done. If you're a fan of my other channel, you'll know what that project is. Maybe you won't, but if you put 2 and 2 together, you'll figure it out. Let's turn this off and disconnect this and plug it into the Cruisin' USA. And see how it looks on medium res. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. It's going to be all different in brightness and contrast, but yeah, no more lines, nothing. So medium res appears to be good. That's fantastic. Yeah, see, we're way too bright. But yeah, because medium res is such a different video output that contrast is way too high now. I don't want to go through adjusting it all over again. There's no need to. But no more lines. Let's see if we can. I don't have my adapter interface plugged in, so I can't use my controls, but let's wait for the screen to go through and maybe I can readjust vertical size and position. Yeah, nothing. So let's turn our contrast down a bit. Whoa, too much. Okay. I lied. Let's just adjust it here. Vertical position is going to be right about there. Vertical size going to be right about there. Each position we'll put. We need to decrease our width. It says decrease as we get. Interesting. Okay, each position we're going to put roughly there. And there you have it. Fantastic. No lines. Glorious. Do we dare try VGA? The only VGA I have is the 16:1, and it'd take a minute for it to boot up, so I'm sure it's fine. We'll call it fixed. I mean, if 2 of the 3 are good, the third of 3 are going to be good too. So, all right, yep, successful repair we're 2 for 2 on the Makvision. The first one had the bad neck board issue that turned out to be the neck socket. This one had those 5 bad components, and we're good to go. So now I have this for my project. Fantastic. I didn't want to put the 27-inch chassis on this tube. In case I ever come across a 27-inch Makvision tube, I have that chassis as a spare, or if this one goes bad, I can change it out. So yeah, I'll keep the other one as a spare, but all right, thumbs up, fantastic. You nasty little 5 components, you're going to go in the garbage. All right, so fantastic. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you learned something. Like, share, and subscribe, and stay tuned for more. Alright, so here we have the actual schematic for the chassis, and we know that we had the shrunken image, and changing out IC8 right here, the TDA 1675 alpha, that's the vertical IC, changing that out fixed the shrunken image, and that gave us an entire complete full image, except the top of the screen was, tearing as we saw. So I began by just simply going right to the vertical size pot, which is this right here, VR16 200K variable resistor. And I followed it up, and to pin 7 of the vertical IC is the vertical size input. They actually refer to it as height input. R104 here was supposed to read 120K, and it read 118.6, so that was okay. As we kept going down here across the vertical size pot, we hit R90. That's how I got to R90, and as we know, it read 2 megohm, and it's supposed to be 560K. So we changed that one out, and that made no difference. If we follow this back down, it goes across R112. Now, that's not one of the ones we initially changed. That's one of the ones I changed earlier today, actually. But R90 was the original one that read 2 megohm that we thought might have been our problem. We changed it out, and it read 560K, made no difference. So you follow it over, it goes across. Here's R91 is one of the other ones we changed out. It was supposed to read 27K, and it read 37K in circuit and 40K out of circuit. So we changed those two. It did nothing. That's when I kind of got a little frustrated, like, well, I don't understand how you can have both of those be bad and not have the system be any different, not the symptom be any different. So I, slept on it, got a good night's sleep, came back the next day and got back on it. And looking back at the schematic, it also ties into R112 here. It's supposed to be 270K. Well, I didn't show it on camera, but in circuit it was reading 560K. I took it out of circuit, and it still read 560K. So I put in a replacement R112, and it read 270K. I think it read 210 in circuit, but out of circuit it was 270. So all 3 of these resistors were all bad. R90, R91, and R112 were all bad. But it didn't make any difference on the symptom. So then I went right to the vertical pins. So there's this pin right here and this pin right here. VDY is vertical deflection yoke. And you'll see there's a resistor tied right across the two pins for the vertical deflection yoke, and it's R110. It's supposed to be 270 ohms. Well, as I mentioned, it was reading 1K ohm, like 0.998. And I think we actually showed that. So it's reading 100. It was reading 1K ohm when it was supposed to be 270 ohms. So I replaced that resistor. After replacing R110 with the correct 270 ohm resistor, that fixed the problem. So we had 4 bad resistors and a bad IC. We had a bad vertical IC, we had a bad R110, a bad R90, a bad R91, and a bad R112. So after fixing all those, replacing all those, the symptom went away and the chassis is back to working perfectly. So I wanted to point out here on the schematic why it's important to be able to know how to understand these and read them and figure out what's going on. So that's it. So again, thanks for watching. I forgot to put this in earlier in the video, so I put it here at the end. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Make sure you hit the bell notifications so you stay up to date on the newest videos that come out. And thank you very much. We'll see you on the next video.